Welcome into this week's edition of the Coaches Show. We're all about basketball plus baseball and softball as our spring sports are getting kicked up. But first off is our women's basketball segment, and joining me is our women's basketball head coach, Dr. Britta Belanger. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Coach, unfortunately, since we've talked, you've played two and you've dropped both of those. A real kind of heartbreaking loss against Meridian, 68-65, and you could almost say an equally heartbreaking loss against Jones. That scoreline says 67-57. We'll talk more about that one in a second. But first, your thoughts on that 68-65 loss at home against Meridian?
Yeah, it's been kind of a difficult week for us. This was kind of the most difficult portion of our schedule. We knew Pearl River, Meridian, Jones back to back to back. Those were three teams that were going to be in the top of our league. We looked at it and we said we could go 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, 0-3. Unfortunately, we took the bad end of that and went 0-3. All three very close games. Thought we played pretty well in all three, but we just couldn't find a way to close it out. Meridian here, we feel like the home games are games that we have to win because the road teams, just traveling is so difficult. And that game was one that we were really disappointed to win. One to lose, one where we led virtually the entire game, which makes it even more difficult to lose that game. I thought we played really well defensively in the first half. I thought we shot it pretty well for three quarters, but in the fourth quarter, we went 0 for 9 from the three, and we committed so many fouls late in the game. We gave them so many opportunities on the free throw line. I think we gave them 24 points from the free throw line, and those things really came down to the end to hurt us.
Yeah, and you look at this, when you look at the line scores, they outscored you 16-14 in the first quarter. You outscored them 16-6 in the second, and you held a 30-22 lead, and I think maybe that's what makes this one a little more, like you said, disappointing, because you played so well in that second quarter and you just weren't able to sustain it, because They came out red hot in the third quarter, outscored you 28-22, outscored you 18-13 in the fourth quarter. So despite, even as you mentioned, a poor shooting quarter in the fourth quarter, you still had the lead for most of it. You still had your chances. You just couldn't finish it off. That's why you get the 68-65. And you look at the individual scores. You had three players in double figures, led by Akila Hobson. She had 19 and 3. Cam Pruitt had 16 and 5. And Zion Nelson had 15 and 8. Zion flirted with a double-double in this one. I think I told you, I said this might have been one of her best performances. All three of them played really well for you. Unfortunately, you just needed maybe one of those. One more basket, two more baskets, and you would have been able to find a way to win this one.
Yeah, it's really nice when you have three players scoring double figures. Usually when you have three players scoring double figures, you're going to win the game. I thought Zion Nelson probably had the best game of the season and the best game of her career. In this game, I thought she looked to score. Sometimes I think she's timid about shooting the ball, and I thought she really looked to score in this one. I thought she was really, really good. I thought Amari Barnes was a huge spark for us off the bench in this game. I thought she came in and hit a couple threes early and really played well. I thought our post players, Tyra Johnson and Jalen Applewhite, once again came in and gave us big minutes. We expect those things out of Akila Hobson and Imani Key and Cam Pruitt. We need them to score double figures every night if they can, but it's always nice to have those other people to come in and contribute. It's nice when Zion Nelson, if we could get her, we could go 4 in double figures. Now we're really talking about doing something really well. I thought Maddie Mitchell played well in this game too, leading our team. Her stats don't always show up on the score sheet. And I thought she played really well. Overall, it's very disappointing because I do feel like we played so well, and then at the end we just kind of let up, and it's almost like we celebrated too soon and we gave out of gas. I was very disappointed at the end. There was one side out of bounds set that we had worked on in practice. We knew they were going to run. We had decided how we were going to guard it, and then we just lost focus and didn't guard it. And I was disappointed in that. I was disappointed at the end. I called timeout a couple times and drew some things up, and we didn't execute it very well. And then with 1.3 seconds left, we have a chance to tie it. We kind of clawed our way back. We got the ball back with 1.3 seconds, and we had a chance to tie it, and we didn't even get a shot off it. And so I was disappointed in that. And that was something we talked about after the game. With 1.3 seconds, we got to go up. Whether we win, make it, miss it, maybe we get fouled, maybe something happens. And so that was a learning opportunity for us, and it's something moving forward that we're going to improve on.
Yeah. And then you go to Jones this past Monday. This game was a 67-57 game. It was much tighter for most of that game, especially in the third and fourth quarters. You took a lead going into the fourth quarter, just ran out a little bit of gas. And, I think if you look at this one, kind of emblematic of what it's been all season for you, a slow start on the road. Unfortunately, it was, a little over 4 minutes left in the game left in the first quarter before we scored our first points. It's hard when you give a team a 10-point lead before you score. But your thoughts on this one and how much grit the girls showed in not only fighting their way back but holding a lead, and unfortunately just I think ran out of gas at the end.
Yeah. When you dig a 10-0 hole to start a game, it's very difficult to come back and win. I called timeout with 5 minutes or whatever in the first quarter. I held off as long as I could, and the official looks at me and he says, "Well, Coach, you're about to get a media timeout." And I said, "I understand that, but I've got to call timeout because we are not scoring and we're not stopping them from scoring." I had no choice. We had to do some subbing early because I didn't think our starting five, who we usually play well and who we usually rely on, I didn't think they played well to start the game. We subbed in some bench players, and that was kind of when we got going with some of those bench players who really came in and gave us a big spark in that Jones game. And then our starters came back in later, those kids who score a lot, and they really played well, especially after the half. If we don't dig this 10-0 hole, it's a totally different game. Jones is a very talented team. They're a very good team. But what about our grit and our fight to come back? At halftime, we're down 6 or 8. We're not down huge. And then in the third quarter, we find a way to get a lead. And in the end, we just couldn't hold them off. Yeah. We could not. Once again, I felt like we fouled too much. I was very disappointed in this game. I was very disappointed in the officiating in this game. They had nearly double the amount of free throws we had. And, we didn't settle. We didn't stand outside and shoot threes. Against Meridian, we probably shot too many threes. But in this game, we didn't. And so that was disappointing. There were a couple calls late in the game that should have gone our way, I felt like. And it kind of just took the air out of us when the officials kind of took the game out of our kids' hands. I felt like they took it out of the players' hands, and so I was disappointed in that.
Yeah. And I think you want to say it was a slow start. You didn't get some perfect shot, but you were able to get some looks. Unfortunately, they just didn't fall.
Right.
And that was being there, watching. I was going, it's frustrating watching it because I know as a coach, you've seen the same. We're getting good looks. They're just not falling, and things were falling for them. And that's just unfortunate. That's part of the game sometimes. Right. But again, despite that slow start, you were only outscored by 8 in that quarter, 19-11 in the first quarter. It was much closer in the second quarter. They outscored you 10-9 in the third quarter. You outscored them 19-9 in the fourth quarter. 29-18 in favor of Jones. That's how you get the 67-57 margin there. Your leading scorer in this one was someone we just talked about, Madison Mitchell. Maddie, again, you mentioned her stats don't always show up. This game, she really did a good job scoring, did a good job of being the leader and the point guard that you needed to be. 15 points, 2 rebounds, and assists, and a steal. Kamaya Pruitt had 14 points, 5 rebounds. Imani Key had 10 points, 5 rebounds. And, I talked to you after the game. I felt like the turning point was, the fourth quarter. You had to take Imani, Zion, and Cam all out at the same time. Those were the 3 who were kind of leading the charge for you. And it felt like you needed to give them a breather. And when you had to do that, it really kind of changed the momentum for us. I told somebody, I said, if she could have taken 1 or 2 of them out and kept 1 in, we'd have been okay. But taking all 3 out really kind of felt like that's what changed the game.
Yeah, it did. And, I think one of them was in foul trouble and one of them was just tired. And again, I should have managed that. I should have done a better job of maybe, alternating subs and things like that. I don't know that 67-57, I know it was a 10-point game, but that was not indicative of how close this game was. This game was really close. It got away from us a little bit at the end because we started fouling. I started trying to extend the game. And we did a pretty good job of it for a while, especially if we could have gotten, a ball to bounce our way or a call to go our way. I thought Maddie Mitchell was excellent in this game. We don't always call on her to score, but in this one we did, and she stepped up and did that for us in a big way, in addition to leading our team and guiding them and things. Cam Pruitt is consistent. She always does a good job on the boards. Imani Key was good. Again, I thought our bench players were really good, even if they didn't score. Tyra Johnson, Jalen Applewhite, Amari Barnes, those players came in. Jay Robinson came in and took a huge charge. They came in and gave us this huge spark when arguably our best 5 were not playing well, and we needed that. And for much of the game, those bench players played. They were the ones who started the run and who started the charge in the third quarter because, again, they weren't playing well. So starting the third, we started 4 or 5 bench players, and so their production was really encouraging because we know we have that depth and we're able to use them in different ways.
Yeah, and now we turn the page from all of those. We've got 5 games left. The good news is 3 out of those 5 are at home. One of those that's on the road is a really close road game. It's only 45 minutes up the way. And we're going to talk about 3 of those. The first one, we're going to host Southwest this upcoming Thursday, 5:30. The Lady Bears are going to come into Mullen. What do we know about them coming into this one? I know that's a team talking to you earlier this week. They're playing better than what they were earlier in the year, but what do we know about them heading into this one?
Yeah, Southwest is not quite as good as they have been in past years, but they've been playing really well the past 3 or 4 games. I do know they have not been great on the road, so I'm thankful that they have to come to Mullen and we don't have to make the trip down to Summit. Very well coached team. Brent and I know each other very well. I worked for him for 10 years. They're going to run a lot of sets. We're going to be ready to guard. We're going to change a lot. We're going to do a lot of different things. They have one kid who shoots it really well. They have one post kid who does a really good job around the basket. So we'll have our hands full. They are not in the top of the league. We're considerably ahead of them in the league, but it doesn't matter because they're Southwest and we're Co-Lin, and it's a 30-minute game and it's a rivalry game. It's kind of akin to North Carolina and Duke. It's not on that level, but it is. And my kids today, they came in and they're like, Coach, man, so-and-so said they're coming to the game, and so-and-so said they're coming to the game. And they're like, they've never been to a game. And I said, y'all got to understand, it's Southwest Co-Lin. It is a 30-minute rivalry. And because we don't have a lot of local kids, they don't know that. And when you start explaining it to them, they're like, oh, okay, like they get it. So I think they'll be dialed up for that one because they know a lot of people are coming to the game. They also know how important this one is because it's a home game and because we're kind of in the middle of the pack and we need to get as many wins as we can here in the last 5.
Yeah, and then in a little bit of a change, something that unfortunately you've had to deal with once already this year. You're going to have to play a Saturday game, our last makeup game from the Ice Storm. Northwest is going to come down here Saturday, 1 o'clock in Mullen. Lady Rangers, a team that I feel like has kind of been up and down throughout the year. What do we know about them coming into this one? I know this is a game you've probably scouted multiple times now because we've changed the state a few times, but what do we know about the Lady Rangers coming into this one?
Yeah, unlike normal when I don't ever look ahead, this is when I have looked ahead to because we were supposed to play them back on like February 2nd or something like that. So we had done a lot of the prep work for it. Northwest has been very much of an up and down team. They have the best post player in the league. She averages 20 points. She had 20 points and 20 rebounds the other night against Jones. So she will be a main focus for us. They also have a kid who shoots the 3 really well. They play really well together inside out, but keeping it out of her hands in the post is going to be a big focus for us. They too have not been great on the road. A Saturday at 1 o'clock when they've got to drive 3 or 4 hours, we hope that plays well into our favor. Just being able to be at home again makes a big difference. I don't hate the Saturday game. I like a few of those sprinkled in here and there because it allows our players' families to be able to get here. Sometimes at 5:30, it's hard for people to get off work and pick up their kids and get to a game. So a Saturday 1 o'clock game is nice. We're also doing an alumni recognition. We've asked former Lady Wolves to come back. Coach Young is going to be there and some other former Lady Wolves and people who've been involved in the program. So we're excited to see those people and have them come back.
And then this upcoming Monday, you'll go on the road, take that about 45-minute trip up to Utica. We will play the Lady Bulldogs of Hines. Again, not a mistake on my part, folks. In basketball, Hines is the Bulldogs. Every other sport, they're the Eagles. I know it's confusing, but that's just what it is. So the Lady Bulldogs of Hines, what do we know about them? A team, again, I think has kind of been up and down throughout the year, not playing as well as they did earlier in the year, late in the season. But what do we know about them coming into that one?
Yeah, I don't know a ton about Hines, I'll be honest. Those last 2 or 3, Hines, Gulf Coast, East Central, I haven't watched very much on them because they haven't been in the rotation with us. Northwest is a team that has played everybody before we did, so I've watched almost every game that they've played this season. Don't know a ton about the Lady Bulldogs of Hines. I do know that they've had some adversity. They've had some injuries and had some things happen. So I know they were playing really well early. They kind of went through a slump in the middle. But I feel like as of late, they've been playing better. They've won 2 or 3 games recently. I think it'll be a difficult game for us because we're playing Thursday, Saturday, Monday. So we're going to be going into a road game on tired legs. Just going into Utica, Mississippi, where we've never been. There's not much there. Our players are not going to know what to expect. And that's always a difficult environment to play in. So once again, probably a team in the bottom of our league, a team that we need to go and beat, but a team that's going to give us a good challenge, and we're going to have to be focused and ready to play.
All right. Well, hopefully the next time we talk to you, we're talking about 3 Lady Wolves wins.
I hope so.
And maybe pushed us a little bit further up in those playoff standings and all of those things. So despite going 0-2 in their last 2, losing to Meridian 68-65, Jones 67-57, Lady Wolves are still right in the hunt and right in the thick of things for playoffs and all those kind of things. They've got 5 games left. The next 3, 2 out of those 3 are at home. Southwest, Thursday, Mullen Gym, 5:30. Be there if you can't be. Of course, we'll give you the streaming information. And then on Saturday, 1 p.m., Lady Rangers of Northwest are coming to Mullen again. On the road on Monday at Utica to face the Lady Bulldogs of Holmes. Stick with us after the break. Men's basketball, baseball, softball, all coming your way after this. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me now is our head men's basketball coach, Randy Bolden. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Coach, since we've talked, you've played at home against Meridian, on the road against Jones. You beat Meridian 63-59 in overtime, lost to Jones 78-69. That game felt a lot closer. We'll talk about that one in a second. First, let's go to that Meridian game. This was a game where, I think if we're quite honest, it kind of felt like our guys were sleepwalking a little bit. We were a little sluggish in this one, not used to a slow start at home, but overcame it and were able to get a win.
Yeah, well, I thought it was just one of those games. Meridian they're gritty, they're tough, and I thought they made every basket we scored, they made it tough on us. And I thought it was just one of those ugly wins where you just got to grind it out. And I thought our guys stayed resilient, and we were able to overcome.
Yeah, a team that's much better than what their record says for sure. You look at the box score, they outscored you 32-25 in the first half. You outscored them 29-22 in the second half, and then outscored them 9-5 in the overtime period. That's how you get 63-59. Again, just a very gutsy performance out of your guys, especially in that overtime period where it felt like maybe it could go either way, and our guys just came out firing.
Well, yeah, I think that overtime period we kind of we executed down the stretch. We made free throws, and I think that we got timely stops, and I think that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, and you look at the individual line scores. I think if I told you, hey, Corey's going to be your leading scorer in this one, yeah, I think you might tell me, well, did we struggle?
Right.
And not bashing Corey or anything like that. Corey's usually one of your top three, but he's usually not the leading scorer. Usually that's Tyrell, which he was right there with him as well. Tyrell had 12, and Caleb Crochet had 12 as well, too. 12 and 8 from Caleb. Nearly missed a double-double. Those were your three leading guys. Those have kind of been the guys that you've leaned on as well, too. Your thoughts on how well those three played and really overcame some slow starts for themselves as well.
I always talk about Coy because, like I say, he's our quarterback, and he's the guy that anything needed. When we needed to score a basket, he was able to deliver. Most of the time, he's assisting and doing those things, but we needed him to step up and score, and I thought he did that. And of course, Tyrell hit some big baskets late in the second half, and I thought Caleb had one of his great games in the second half. He hit a big three that got us going in overtime.
Yeah, Coy, just an all-around really good stat line. Mentioned the points. Also had 7 rebounds and 4 assists. You mentioned it. You don't often have to ask him to step up to the plate scoring-wise, but he definitely did in this one. But stepped up to the plate in other ways too. He nabbed those rebounds, especially some long rebounds, and got some really key assists as well too. Yeah. And then you go to this past Monday on the road. You dropped this one to Jones 78-69. This was a game that was a lot closer than what this scoreline tells that it was. It was only a 1-point game at half. And at one point in the second half, you'd taken a lead and just weren't able to sustain it, unfortunately. Your thoughts on how the guys played on this one, and you feel like you played a lot better. Again, another road effort where it was really, really good and really indicative of how this team's performing.
Yeah, I thought we kind of grew up on we grew up on the road, even when the Pearl River game of last week. And I thought this week when we went into Jones, we were confident. We feel like we have a chance to win each night. We're on the road now, and we gave ourselves a chance. I think down the stretch, execution, we missed some easy baskets that we normally make. I think a couple of layups here and a front end of 1-and-1. And when you're on the road and you're playing a good team, you got to capitalize on those type of things. And I think we had some miscues in that regard, and it cost us the game.
Yeah. Mentioned it. It was 33-32 at halftime. Jones held the lead, and then they outscored you 45-37. A lot of those 45 kind of came late. You had some guys fouling, trying to stay in it right there, and unfortunately, they were able to make a lot of those baskets. And as you mentioned just a second ago, it's just those little things, those small things, getting that front end of that 1-and-1 so you get a chance at that other basket, making maybe going for a layup instead of a dunk. Those kind of things, those small attentions to detail, those are things that are really different between a team being good, really good, or great.
Right. And I think, the biggest thing, like I told the guys, we're learning, and hopefully we learn from those mistakes and understand when you're on the road, you got to be different. We talk about being different, and you have to, pay attention to detail, and you just have to be a team that's resilient and overcome obstacles. And I think we're growing from that, and I think we'll be better on the next time out.
Yeah. Well, the good news is we've got 3 coming up. 2 out of those 3 are at home, and the good news is that third one that's not at home, it's on the road, but it's the shortest road trip in conference you've had all season. We'll start by hosting Southwest this upcoming Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Bears are really hot right now. What do we know about them coming into this one, and what are you expecting out of them when they come in here on Thursday?
Well, they're playing really well, like you said. They're hot right now. They've scored a lot of points, and they're big. They got a really big team, 1 through 5. They're huge, and they shoot the ball extremely well. So we'll have our work cut out. We got to guard them. We got to be able to guard them and guard the transition play. They're really good one-on-one players. So we got to make sure we win our one-on-one battles and get the rebound on the first shot up. And if we can do those things and control pace, I think we'll be okay.
And then you've got Northwest coming in here on Saturday. This is a remake from the last remake we'll have from the Ice Storm from earlier in this month. You've got Northwest coming in at 3 p.m. What do we know about the Rangers coming to this one? I know this is a bunch that just played Southwest this past Monday. Southwest beat them fairly handedly. I think we can say that they will be upset about that. But what do you know about the Rangers coming into this one?
Well, they score a lot of points, and I'm not exactly sure. I know they're top 5 in the nation in scoring. So they like to score a lot of points. They play unorthodox style of basketball. So we're going to have to make sure that we try to impose our pace and our will, our style of play on them instead of them doing the opposite. So, but they got a lot of good guys that can shoot the ball, and they have some size in the interior. So we just got to try to do what we do and try to dominate the paint and control pace. And
then you're going to, I mentioned it, you're going to take that short trip up to Utica. You're going to play Hines on Monday, 7:30 tip for that one. What do we know about the Bulldogs of Hines? Again, folks at home, in case you're wondering, did I misspeak? No, they are the Bulldogs and Lady Bulldogs in basketball because of being on the Utica campus. So they're the Eagles and everything else. It's a little confusing, but just that note right there. We're going to play the Bulldogs of Hines in Utica on Monday. This is a team that I think they're kind of similar to us. They've had a lot of close games, a lot of close losses, a lot of close wins, kind of up and down throughout the year. But what do we know about them heading this late into the season?
I think they're talented. I think they're a talented bunch, and they just won at Northeast. Came to their place. They beat a really good Northeast team. So they just let you know that in this league that, hey, any given night, you can be beat. So you got to come ready every night and be prepared and be ready to go, because if you're not, you will come out with a loss. So, but they're talented, and like I say, the scores doesn't reflect that. It hadn't reflected that this season, but they are a tough team to play.
So it's hard to believe we've only got about 5 games left overall. After this upcoming Monday, we'll only have 2 left. One of those will be sophomore day, but we'll talk more about those in the future. Again, lots of good things happening for the Wolves. They beat Meridian at home in overtime, 63-59, drop a tough one to Jones on the road, 78-69. They will host Southwest on Thursday at 7:30, host Northwest on Saturday at 3, and then go to Hines on Monday at 7:30. Stick with us after the break. We've got softball and baseball coming your way. We'll talk about how those teams have done over their last few over this past weekend.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success. And not to mention a really fun college experience too. Co-Lin was recently ranked #1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me now is our head softball coach, Meleah Howard. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
And Coach, obviously, since the last time we talked, you've played 6, and I think we can safely say you've been a little successful in those 6. They've all 6 been run rule victories. You've outscored your opponents in these 6 games 64-4. That includes 3 shutout victories as well too. Your thoughts overall on how good it feels to see what your team looks like when they're healthy? Because obviously last time we talked that first weekend you were a little under the weather, but a healthy Lady Wolfpack is very dangerous, as we've seen.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And, I told the girls, I was like, this is Co-Lin softball. But like you said, first weekend we go out, we are under the weather. 50% of our team is struggling, but and to see them healthy. And that's what I told everybody. I'm ready to see our girls 100%. Like, what do they look like? And we look really good right now, so I hope we keep it that way.
Yeah, 100% looks like a really good defending national championship team if we can say that ourselves. But you go back this past weekend, you went over to Gulf Shores. You played in the Coyote Classic. You played a couple of games on Friday, 2 more on Saturday. You started off with Lamar State Port Arthur. You beat them 14-1. They actually took a lead on you in the bottom of the first, scored their only run of the game. Then you scored 2 in the first. Or 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 3 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and then exploded for 7 in the seventh, and that's how you get to 14-1. A pair of hits each from Yari Van Blercom, Stella Roberts, Annie Poole. Brooklyn Wren led the way with 3 hits. Noelle Lesh had a couple of hits as well, too. And then in the circle, Ava Browder gave you 6 great innings, only gave up the 1 earned run on 4 hits, a couple of strikeouts and a walk. Lily Crum came in, finished it out with a scoreless inning, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. So up and down the lineup, everybody contributed. In the circle, you were really good in this one.
Yeah, and one thing that we ask of them is score every inning. Well, I don't want to score a bunch in one inning and then just quit. So score every inning, win every inning. That's our goal. So I was proud to see that. And anytime you're putting up 7 runs in an inning, I love that. But very proud of our lineup up and down throughout the lineup. Everybody had good at-bats. And on the mound, both of our pitchers look really great, and they're freshmen, so that makes me feel good.
And then you play Southern Union, and this is a team who last year Southern Union made the national tournament, so that you know the quality of team that you're facing in this one. And you shut them out. You beat them 8-0. And, really, I feel like the story in this one is the performance of Addison Lindley. She shined in the circle and at the plate, had a 2-run home run in this one as you scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth. Addison was 2 of 3 in this one. She led the way at the plate. Also a couple of hits from Annie Poole, Emily Williams. Addison had 1 hit. That was a 2-run home run. Brooklyn Wren had a hit. Braley Phillips had a hit as well, too. But, again, we talked about in this one where Addison really shined was this was a complete game no-hitter. And she was a walk away from a perfect game. The only base runner she gave up was like a walk in the 3rd inning. Just a great game out of her in this one.
I'm very proud of Addison. For a pitcher who only pitched, what did we say last year?
A couple of games.
6 innings, maybe. It wasn't many. After the first weekend, I told her, I said, well, you've already pitched more this year than you did all of last year, so she has grown up so much, and she is owning the mound, and her mound presence looks great, and I'm just really proud of her, and she's getting the job done.
Yeah, I think after yesterday, obviously we'll talk some more about it, but a sub-2 ERA, 4 wins on the season, she's really taking this sophomore year, making the most of it.
Yes, extremely proud of her.
And then you turn on Saturday, you go and you'll play Coastal North, and you got a back-to-back shutout because you beat them 8-0 as well, too. You scored 3 in the first, 4 in the third, 1 in the fifth. Couple of hits from Emily Williams. Morgan Chisholm led the way with 3 hits in this one. A hit each from Yari Van Blercom, Annie Poole, Brooklyn Wren, Stella Roberts, Noelle Lesh. Olivia Higginbotham got you a hit in this one as well, too, and I believe a pinch hit appearance. And then Maddie West, your other sophomore pitcher that we talked about, she didn't get a lot of innings last year either, but this one, 5 hits of shutout ball, 5 innings of shutout ball, only gave up 1 hit, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And right now you look at Maddie, and again, we talked about it, not a lot of innings pitched last year, but it's paying off for you right now. She's leading your team in ERA. She has a .64 in all of her appearances so far. So every little thing is working right for you right now.
And like I said, another, sophomore pitcher who did not see a lot of mound time last year. But again, Maddie has grown up so much, and, I'm confident with her on the mound. I know she's going to do what we expect her to do and what we need her to do, and she gets it done for her team, and I'm proud of her.
And then the last one you play over this one, you want proof of how good how much better a healthy Wolfpack team is, or Lady Wolves are. Look at this game against Pensacola State. This is a team that the weekend before you only beat them 3-2. You turn around this time and handed them a 15-2 tail whooping. You scored 5 in the first. They scored 1 in the first and 1 in the second. Those are their 2 runs. 5 in the first for the Lady Wolves, 3 in the second, and then 7 in the third. Just absolute domination there. I think you had home runs in this one from Stella Roberts. You had a triple from Yari Van Blercom, double from Braley Phillips, Emily Williams, Addison Lindley. Brooklyn Wren had a hit in this one, Annie Poole as well, too. So just contributions again up and down the lineup. Addison Lindley comes in again. 3 innings in this one, gets the win, 2 runs. Only one of those was earned, 3 hits, a walk and a strikeout. Lily Crum gives you a couple of innings, a hit, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. So again, another dominant performance in the circle.
Yeah, I love scoring 15 runs. I mean, that's a lot of fun for me as a coach. I get to relax and enjoy the game and just get to see the girls have fun and be loose. And again, our pitching staff got it done. You know, Addison continues to do what Addison's doing, and proud of Lily Crum for coming in. And, you know, she's a freshman, so anytime I can get her mound time and her go out there and have success, that's only good for our program. So excited to see what our pitchers are going to continue to do.
And then this past Wednesday, you hosted Baton Rouge, a very emotional home opener for those of us who've been with the Lady Wolves for a long time. We honored the memory of Josie Meggs, who obviously passed away this past summer. Her parents were here throwing out the first pitch. A lot of high emotion in that game beforehand. Had a lot of Lady Wolves come back. It was good to see a lot of familiar faces, despite the reason they were coming. But your team really stepped up. You won 11-1 and then 8-0. Talk about how fun it was as a coach to be able to, you had that emotional moment, you had that high emotion, but your girls were able to, let that be there and then really take care of business for you.
Well, I think it was a really good day. You know, we didn't want it to be a sad day. We wanted to be like, hey, this is remembering Josie, because Josie would want everybody to be happy and smile. And, we just wanted to honor her because she meant so much to our program. And we still think about her. Things happen all the time. And I'm like, oh, that reminds me of Josie, but we know she's smiling down on us. And, I don't know if you noticed, but during the game, at one point it was 6-0 and we had 4 hits, and that was on the board. And also the first inning, all 3 outs were made at third base where Josie played. So I thought that was kind of a God thing. So that was pretty neat to see. But, I think for all of our former girls that got to come and be there, that meant a lot to her family and to our program. And even for our girls that are on the team right now to see, hey, like, you're more than just a softball player to us. Like, when you leave here, we're still going to love you. We're still going to think about you. And we're just a close-knit family.
Yeah. For those watching, 6 and 4, the reason those numbers are specifically mentioned, 4 was the number Josie wore first year. 6 was the number she wore during the championship season. So
Yes.
Those numbers are special. They're going to find a special way to continue and memorialize those numbers as well too. But you look at the first game, and really you came out and you just mentioned 6 runs in the first inning. And, I'm sitting there watching this one. I'm thinking, all right, here we go. We're about to really just run away with this one. And we did. We scored 5 in the third as well too. Had lots of hits in this one. Breeley Phillips with a hit. Annie Poole, Brooklyn Wren, Morgan Chisholm, all with 2 hits, as well as Abby Burnett. Abby Burnett was probably your best hitter in this one. She struggled a little bit to start the year, but I talked to her afterwards. I said, hey, that's not a bad day. Couple of hits, 4 RBIs. You were responsible for a lot of runs and had really 2 solid hits as well too.
Great day for Abby. And, Abby is a phenomenal shortstop, and she knows offensively that's what we need out of her. So I was very proud of her for getting it done.
Yeah, her second hit, when I saw it just curve and hit that baseline, I was like, yes, that's
perfect.
That's what we need. She needed to see that, and it gave her another RBI as well too. Ava Browder came into this one, gave you 3 innings of scoreless ball, gave up 1 hit, 2 walks, a strikeout. Lily Crum came in, pitched the last 2 innings, gave up an unearned run, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. But again, a very dominant performance from both your pitchers.
Absolutely.
And then the last game, you look at that one, you scored 1 in the first, 1 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth. They got a walk-off walk. Cadence Shepard came up there for a pinch hit. She was very patient at the plate. Got that one for you. A couple of hits from Breeley and Ayari, as well as Brooklyn. Brooklyn gave a big 3-run home run that really kind of broke this one open for you.
That was a big hit and a big moment to kind of separate us in the score, for sure.
Emily Williams with a hit. Morgan Chisholm, Stella Roberts all with a hit as well, too. Addison Lindley. Again, we've talked about Addison multiple times now, but again, another dominant performance out of her. 6 innings, scoreless, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. She's just been masterful in the circle for you.
Yeah.
And then you look at this upcoming weekend, you're going to go over to a park that I think we could say we kind of like Chocolaco Park. We kind of have some special memories from last year over there. You're going to go back over to Oxford. You're going to play in the JUCO Extravaganza. Right now, we know we're playing 1 game Friday, playing a pair of games on Saturday. Opponents still to be determined based on some things that are going on in weather. But right now, we know we're going to play DMAC on Friday. What do we know about them coming in this one? I know that's a team that we know a lot about because we see them every year at the national tournament. But what do we know about them this year?
We expect them to be a good ball team for sure. Very competitive. But we're excited to play that competition, and especially on the championship field. We get to play them on the championship field at Chocolaco Park. So excited for that. But I'm starting to see some things that we need to see out of our team. We have some freshmen stepping up that we need to step up to, just kind of fill some spots. But then our sophomores are starting to do what they need to do to help this team get back to a championship caliber team. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
So lots of exciting things happening. Hopefully the next time we talk to you, we will be talking about at least 3 Lady Wolves wins. I know after that we'll go to Baton Rouge next week, but we'll talk to you before we hit the road on that one. Got lots of exciting games coming up we got to talk about as well too. So that'll wrap up our softball segment. Again, they go 6-0 across their last 6, outscoring their opponents 64-4. Yeah, when you're giving up less than 1 run a game and you're scoring more than 10, you're going to have a lot of success. So stick with us after the break. Baseball coming your way. Coach Flessner will join us and talk about the last 6 for the baseball team after this.
When you give to the Co-Lin Foundation, your support directly benefits Co-Lin students, faculty, and staff. Whether it's by providing scholarships for students, professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, or technology and campus upgrades, we need your support. Giving to Co-Lin offers the best value for your money as a donor. With low administrative spending and overhead, we can use your donations in tangible ways that benefit students right now. Join us as we back the pack by giving today.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me now, as promised, is our head baseball coach, Kyle Flessner. Coach, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate you having me.
Coach, obviously, since the last time we've talked, you've played 6 games. We talked about 4 of those, kind of forgot about a couple of those, but you've played 6. You go 2-4 in those, and a couple of those losses are just bad luck losses. I think a couple of bounces go your way. Those games go differently. But your thoughts overall first on the 4-game series against Mineral Area?
No, I thought it was extremely beneficial to us. Mineral Area, I think, so far is the most talented team we've played. Just their lineup, depth on the mound, it really made us have to play the best game possible to win. And to come out with 2, and the other 2, it wasn't we beat ourselves. It was they executed some things and they beat us. You can live with that. Yeah. So we got some really good experience out of that.
I think you can define those as you got a pair of quality wins. Also, if there's such thing, you got a pair of quality losses as well too. Because again, that's a ranked D1 opponent. That's a team that's coming off a region championship. Yeah. Like you just said, probably the best team we've played.
Yeah, they were 1 win away from going to Grand Junction, I think, and then I'd see they got a really good shot at possibly getting back there this year.
Yeah, and you look at the first game of the series, you win this one 2-1, and it is every bit of the pitcher's duel that it says it is. Both runs came in the 3rd inning. Cardinals scored a run in the 3rd. Your guys scored 2 in the 3rd, and the difference is a hanging off-speed pitch to Trey Davidson that he put on top of the hitting facility in left field. Just talk about that one. Talk about how well, you had 8 hits in this one, so there were other hits. You just couldn't string a lot of things together. And just talk about how well Cameron Patterson did on the mound. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Nash came in and got his first official save of the year. Scoreless inning of relief with a strikeout. You did a really good job on the mound with this one.
Absolutely, and we got a lot of compliments from their head coach about our guys pitching too. That's genuine Cam Patterson right there. It's as expected. I thought in that 3rd inning when he gave up that 1 spot, they had bases loaded, nobody out, and that inning could easily get away from you. And there was some frustration. He thought the zone was shrinking on him a little bit, and for him to just keep pitching and not let that get to him, that was ultimately the difference maker. And then Trey Davidson the whole weekend, I'm sure Mineral Area is going to be happy they never see him again. And so it seemed like even all of his outs were lined right at somebody.
Yeah. And then in game 2 of that day, this one, you lose this one 16-3, but in saying that, this game felt a little bit closer than that at times because your guys were still getting hits. You still had you had 6 hits on this one, but it felt like everything that they hit in this one was finding a gap, and it was finding a gap fast. When guys like Avery Griffin and Evan and all them aren't able to even make a move on a ball that's hit on the ground, they're hitting it well. And unfortunately, on this one, I like to make the analogy. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. Unfortunately, the Wolves were the bug in this one.
Yeah, it happens. It gave our starting guy a little bit of good experience. That was the toughest team that he's faced in his career, and it's going to be one of the tougher teams he faces all year. It got to the point, hey, if we can get a 0 just in one of these first few innings, kind of grab him by the tail, don't let him run away, tip of the cap to Mineral Area. They kept swinging the bat, and they were tough to play, and then they threw up 0s on their side to keep the momentum. And so that happens. When you're facing a good team and they're able to play downhill on you, that's what we try to do. And so sometimes it's going to happen to you. It's not anything that, we got beat on a lot of 0-2 pitches that got hit hard that we can't let beat us, but that's, you live and you learn. Yeah. So.
And then you fast forward to Saturday, you get up there, you get back, you get 2 more against them. You win game 1, 8-1, and the storyline is the one run, the only run that Jennings Kimbrell gives up is a solo home run in the 4th. It was 3-1 at that point because you had already scored 3 in the 1st, and then you scored 5 in the 6th, highlighted by Trey Davidson's grand slam. So what we learned this weekend, if Trey Davidson hits a home run, Wolves are going to win.
Yes.
If Trey Davidson doesn't hit a home run, hey, Wolves are going to be competitive. May not get a win, but it's still going to be a good game.
Absolutely. No, Jennings he's picking up right where he left off, won 11 games for us last year, and he just controlled in, out, up, down in the zone, and he controlled the tempo, didn't really let hitters get comfortable, and that was a big thing. That's just, when you've done this for a year already and you learn that you have to be in control, he showed that. 10 punch-outs, no walks. So you're giving yourself a really good chance to win. Yeah. On that day overall, we had 22 punch-outs and 1 walk on the day, so we really gave ourselves a shot. And then Trey Davidson, like I said, that's just, really good job on our part keeping the game 3-1, not letting them get any advantage, and then just having that dagger at the end of the game makes it a lot easier.
Trey, the opening week hits 867, came back down to earth a little bit this past week, only hit like 385, which, hey, when you hit 385, that's still a really good week for a lot of folks, but when you hit 867, 385, hitting a little less than 600 right now. You mentioned just a minute ago, Jennings, I think you can make a case this might be the best start he's had in his 2 years.
Absolutely.
6 innings, 1 earned run, just 2 hits. I say it every time we talk about him. Jennings is not a strikeout pitcher, but yet he continues to prove everybody wrong. 10 strikeouts in this one. I think he's up to 21 in 13 innings pitched. Just a great strikeout to innings pitch ratio as well, too. Lucian Walker came into this one. I think this was one that Nash was probably in line to get another save until you get those 5 runs in the 6th, but Lucian comes in, scoreless inning, gives you a strikeout as well, too. So, again, just a dominant outing in the mound for both of them.
Yes, just ability to not make it interesting coming in and throwing strikes out of the bullpen. That's been really huge for us to start this year. That's why we've had some really good success, and we just have to keep that going.
And then in the second game, you lose that one 6-3, but this was a game that it was a lot tighter than that 6-3 scoreline says it is. There was they scored 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. We scored 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. I believe the one in the 4th or the 5th that was the inning that probably hurt the worst, because that was the inning where bases are loaded. If you can find a way to score, you scored 1 run in that inning, but if you find a way to score more, because bases loaded with 1 out, and instead you get a strikeout, ground out to end the inning. But if you find a way to score maybe 1 or 2 more in that inning, maybe the tide kind of shifts your way and you find a way to win that one.
It does. I think beginning of the season kind of hurt us too, because we're at pitch count with Wes when he gets a big strikeout with the runner at second base to, any situation, you probably let him keep going, but that he hasn't been close to that pitch count yet. You're trying to keep your guys healthy, and to be successful, you have to be able to have a guy come in from the bullpen and throw strikes. And Nash did a great job. It was the end of the bat that caught the outfield, and that's what happened to him in the next inning too. And so, tip of the cap to Mineral Area, they were able to grind out that win, and they had to do a lot of things well, and then they were able to bring a guy in out of the pen and shut the door on us.
Yeah, Wes White takes a hard luck loss in this one, despite 5 2/3. He gave up 4 runs. All of those were earned, 6 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. He commanded the zone well, yes. I thought. Obviously, when you strike out 8 guys, you're doing a lot of things right. Nash came in, an inning and a third, gave up 2 runs. 1 of those was earned, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts. Again, not a bad line from Nash either. A couple of tough luck hits in that one as well, too, as you just mentioned. And then this past Monday, you went on the road, went over to Bossier Parish, dropped a couple there. I think, maybe just a little bit, guys being a little bit tired. You played 6 games in 3 days. I know you and the team will not hide behind that.
No.
But again, in full transparency, I think people can understand. Again, 6 games in 3 days, that's a lot on legs and those kind of things. Talk about these overall. I know it kind of stinks to lose those and have to sit on those for the rest of the week, but just talk about how the guys went out and competed.
Yeah, well, it's a test that we needed for sure, to have one day to turn around after an emotional 4-game series and then go make our farthest road trip with a team that won their conference last year in the Texas JUCO League. It's a test we need, because ultimately our goal is Enid, Oklahoma. And so to be able to go there, we needed to be able to empty the tank. I thought there was just more mental errors than what we'd ever had, and that's going to happen. And so it's a good learning experience for our guys. We're not going to just go be perfect everywhere. And so I'm happy it's happening early. And that way there's a learning experience for all of our younger guys and ability to see who's going to be able to still go out and compete in that area.
And in that first game, that 6-3 game, this is another one where just a couple of things bounce your way. You might get a split on the day because you actually out-hit Bossier Parish 5-4. I know, that doesn't necessarily make you feel better, a moral victory, but hey, you did get that in and you did out-hit them 5-4. You look at the stat lines for your pitchers. Cohen Weinhofer, 4 innings pitched. He gave up 6 runs. All of those were earned, 3 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not a great outing from Cohen, but I think he still was effective for you for the most part. Again, just maybe catching a little bit too much of the zone with some of his out pitches, those kind of things. MT Breland comes in, scoreless inning for him with a walk. Caleb Flynn comes in, scoreless inning of relief with a hit and a strikeout as well, too. So I think you would say overall not upset with how your pitchers did on the mound in this one.
Yeah, it was really 1 inning. We were able to jump on them first and throw up a 2 spot. And then as your goal as a team is to throw up 0 after that. That keeps your momentum. I thought we were able to put a lot of pressure on the base paths. I thought we made their starting pitcher uncomfortable. As far as talent went, we definitely had what we needed. It just sometimes, you got to do a better job executing. And I mean, if you look at Cohen Weinhofer's stat sheet, it doesn't reflect on how he's been throwing all year. The stuff is electric. He's going to be in a really good spot next year somewhere, and he's going to help somebody, and he's going to continue to be one of our guys that we'll trust day in and day out. Yeah. And so
I think indicative of how good of a pitching matchup this one was. Again, 9 total hits. Looked at the stats on our side. Everybody, and this is not a stat, not a fun stat. If you're the opposing pitcher, it's a fun stat, but everybody in the lineup had at least 1 strikeout in that one. So that just shows, how effective their pitcher was against us. And then you look at game 2. This one was 9-0, and had some opportunities to score in this one. Unfortunately, just couldn't put runs across. Kavian Griffith takes a tough loss in this one, despite a pretty good stat line from him. 3 innings pitched. He gave up 2 runs. 1 of those was earned, 3 hits, 3 walks. I think you could say he probably had the best outing out of everybody that you brought in that one. And unfortunately, he just couldn't sustain it for a while.
Yeah, I thought he had the biggest sign of growth. Just coming off of a start he didn't like against Mineral Area. Where he would have definitely loved to have another shot there. He wanted to get right back on the mound, and it was a great opportunity for him. He pitched with such good tempo. He controlled the action a lot better. He pitched with the most confidence I've ever seen, and now he knows that he can go in against any team and completely dominate. It's always the most frustrating part is when a guy is so capable of doing something, and so I was really happy to see him bounce back and almost have some bulletproof confidence.
And now we focus to what's ahead. You're supposed to play a 3-way against some conference opponents in non-conference action. That got canceled. Not participating in that one anymore, but this weekend we're going to play Marion Military Institute, going to play a 3-game series with them. Going to go over there Saturday, play a doubleheader against them. They're going to come to our place on Sunday, a single game at 1 p.m. on Sunday. What do we know about that bunch heading into this weekend?
I'll tell you what, they do all the little things right. They're getting more talented every year. I know they had a really good series against Northeast Mississippi, who's always a better team in our conference, and they swept them. And so you can't always judge on how a team does against other teams, but we are going on the road again, and so they're going to be more comfortable playing us. They're well rested. I don't think they played in about a week or so. So we're going to be getting a fully loaded team on the road, and then we're going to have to try to get 3 games out of them. And so.
Well, hopefully the next time we talk to you, we're talking about a sweep by the Wolves, those kind of things. Just in case to let people know, if we don't get to talk to you before we play those, you do have a non-conference 3-way again at Southwest, playing Southwest and Hines. But hopefully we'll talk to you before those as well, too, again. Excuse me. Lots of exciting things happening for Wolves baseball, despite going 2-4 in their last 6. Got a pair of quality wins against Mineral Area, winning games 1-3, 2-1, and 8-1. Lost games 2-4, 16-3, 6-3. Dropped a pair to Bossier Parish, 6-3, 9-0. Again, that 3-game set this weekend against Marion Military. At Marion Military on Saturday, here at home on Sunday. First pitch at 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then Saturday, I believe first pitch is at noon and 3 for that doubleheader. So that'll wrap up our coaches show this week. Lots of action happening across All sports this week. Basketball is at home against Southwest on Thursday. They'll host Northwest for a makeup game from the Ice Storm this Saturday. 1 and 3 on Saturday, 5:30, 7:30 on Thursday. Softball is going to be on the road this weekend over in Oxford, Alabama. Men's tennis and women's tennis will play East Central, and I think that will just about wrap up all of our action. Tennis also on the road this weekend as well, too. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.